that we always think that wars end by some kind of compromise and coming around the table, to use the cliche. They don't. Historically, most wars end because one side wins and one side loses. And one of the reasons, in my view, why there is this endless rounds of war in this region is because the Israelis are never allowed to win, and Hamas, in this case, are always allowed to draw.
We have a clip here today of Douglas Murray educating Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan wants Israel to give up and admit defeat to Hamas. And Douglas Murray gives him an education. Check it out.
Do you not feel that something has to give here, that this has to get resolved somehow, and that the only way to do that is, as with all these situations, you have to eventually compromise in some way? And the problem for Netanyahu is that people think he is completely incapable of offering Hamas any compromise, and therefore there is no deal. So the families of the hostages still there, and hundreds of thousands of protesters in Israel on the street to Tel Aviv right now, they are of the firm belief that it's his own intractable position on this, which is not going to allow any kind of ceasefire to be achievable.
But there again, if I can say so, Piers, it's the same thing, which is the presumption that it's Netanyahu who is uncompromising. We end up with this, again, because Netanyahu is a democratically elected leader, and so it's assumed that some pressure can be brought to bear on him. In my view, it is not Netanyahu who's uncompromising. It's Hamas that's uncompromising. They could have handed back the hostages last October. They could have not done this. I mean, they could have tried to build a state since 2005, when Israel withdrew from the Gaza, and handed the place over to them. Hamas could have used the billions of dollars and pounds and euros that British and European and American taxpayers gave them since 2006. They could have used those billions of dollars to build up Gaza. They could have made a booming, in the good sense of the term, Mediterranean paradise. They could have created wealth for their people. But you know what they did? They built down instead of upwards. They built a tunnel network bigger than the London Underground for all of those years, and they squirreled away the money, just like Yasser Arafat did before them, and they made themselves rich. Why was Ismail Haniyeh worth billions of dollars? Why does Khaled Mashal, why is he worth billions of dollars? Why are their children like princelings who live in apartment complexes in Doha? Because they took the money of Americans and Brits and Europeans, and they took it for themselves and kept the people of Gaza in immiseration and poverty. There has been since 2005 a complete counterfactual of what could have happened. But the Hamas leadership didn't want that. They have said themselves they want to use Palestinian children and their lives in order to pressurize the world. These are fanatics. They want the death of their own citizens. In order to get world opinion turned against Israel. Again, how do you negotiate with that? The assumption always is in the West today, because we're so sort of fat and lazy in our expectation that peace is the norm, and that historically it's the norm. We're so full of our own expectations and presumptions that we always think that wars end by some kind of compromise and coming around the table, to use the cliche. They don't. Historically, most wars end because one side wins and one side loses. And one of the reasons, in my view, why there is this endless rounds of war in this region is because the Israelis are never allowed to win, and Hamas, in this case, are always allowed to draw. And I think that that is simply to set up the precursor for the next conflict. If Hamas come out of this with a fighting capability, then there will be another round of this war in a couple of years. So when David Lammy and others say what we need to have is a peace deal, I'd say on what terms? Everybody wants peace except for Hamas and the fanatics. Everybody else wants peace. All of these people in the south, these kibbutzniks and the party goers and others who were murdered on the 7th, all dreamed of peace with their Palestinian neighbors and brothers and sisters. Who stopped that peace being possible? Hamas, from 2005 and again to this very day.
Wow, that was a mic drop moment there. And Piers didn't have any good response. I watched the full thing. Just, yeah, actually, you have a point. Hamas is pretty uncompromising. And this is what the Western leaders don't understand. Or maybe they do understand, but they don't care. They look at it like, Hamas can't negotiate with them. Savages, forget about it. But Netanyahu and the Israelis, they could be bargained with, potentially. And so we'll put all our pressure on them, the more reasonable party, because we feel like we can get them to cave. And I think he hit the nail on the head here. Douglas Murray, right again. He says, listen, why are we putting all the pressure on the party that is trying to actually bring this war to a close and trying to find a peaceful solution, while Hamas holds Israeli hostages and clearly says they don't want the war to end? It's like over and over again, you hear what they say and you don't believe them. The Hamas savages are saying, we don't want peace. We want to destroy Israel. We will never stop trying to destroy Israel, regardless of any peace deal. We are avowed to the destruction of the Zionist entity. That's what they say all the time on live TV. And yet people in the West, people in Europe, people in America, people in Canada don't believe them. And so instead they decide, let's make a Palestinian state. Genius. Let's give them what they want. That's like giving Hitler what he wanted in basically allowing him to take over your territories in Europe in the 1930s and 40s. And look what happened there. You feed a crocodile hoping it will appeasement is like feeding a crocodile hoping it will eat you last. And who said that? Winston Churchill, who many people believe is many people believe today is Benjamin Netanyahu. He is the person, the one figure right now. And I do put a lot of blame on him in certain instances because I think he didn't go strong enough. I think he has some issues with being decisive, but he has withstood a lot of pressure from outsiders, a lot of pressure from within his government to go ahead and fight back against, endless propaganda against Israel, with everybody telling him he's wrong, everybody telling him he's a war criminal, everybody telling him he's evil. He is still withstanding that and fighting this genocidal threat in Hamas, the same way that Winston Churchill fought the Nazis, another genocidal organization and entity. And this is a clip from a while back, just to give you some context, a few months ago, but I think everything is relevant today. For some reason, everybody believes you put pressure on Israel is the best way to end this war, when in reality, it's exactly the opposite. Hamas is very popular right now. Why are they popular? Because they're winning. They're winning the propaganda war. They're winning the hearts and minds of European and Western countries. And as much as Israel's winning the battle on the ground, Hamas is winning even more so with the PR campaign that they're running. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you believe in what we do here over at Jewish Uncensored, consider supporting us in a few different ways. You can support us monetarily by going to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. You can also go to our new merchandise store, IsraelUncensored.com, where we just dropped a bunch of new merch. Additionally, to gain access to exclusive content, you can go to our memberships tab on this channel and join there. And finally, you can share this video with both family and friends in order to share this message with the world. Thank you so much for your support.